Okay, I think you guys are gonna love this one. So today we have a Back for Blood build for Sharice for no hope difficulty. So what does Sharice do and how are we going to try to take what she does and complement it? What Sharice does is she provides armor to the team. So the way she provides armor is you kill a zombie that has armor on it, armor can pop off, you pick it up, and now you have armor. How does armor work? If you take a big hit, it negates all the damage. It could be falling from the sun, it could be getting squeezed by an ogre, it could be getting smacked by a tall boy. What else does Sharice have? She has 25% innate trauma resistance. And to top it off, her team effect is that she provides 25% team bolstered health. And the most important part, she starts with a fire axe. So when you hear all of this together, what does it scream to you? To me, it screams melee. So today, we have a really strong melee build for Sharice. And the reason why I love it so much is because it ticks a bunch of the boxes that I value in a build. So here we go. Here's Sherry. The point of this build is a high damage melee pouncer. Your job is not going to be to sit there, hold the line, and then just stab common forever. Your job is going to be hunting down tall boys, stalkers, hawkers, what have you, chasing after them and chopping them to bits before they even have a chance to hurt your team. And we're going to make it so you can live while you do it. Partially because of how Sharice works, okay? So this is a no hope build, meaning that the order of these cards does not matter. And in fact, let me take out Knowledge's Power here because that's actually not a part of the build. We actually had Face Your Fears in the build here. I had Knowledge's Power so I could show you numbers earlier. So this build here is for no hope, meaning the order of the cards does not matter. If you want to rearrange it for your own nightmare play, you go ahead and do so. But again, no hope in mind. So let's go through the cards and why we pick them so you can understand a bit of why we do what we do. I value that a lot when we do builds is why do we do what we do? Because once you understand why, you can make your own alterations to make this deck match you better. Because you might want to take this card out or that card out and then put something else in that matches your play style better. This is a template to get you started. So going off of the theme of this is a build where you run at things and you pounce with a lot of power with your fire axe, we need to make it so that that fire axe can be sustainable. And the way we're going to do that is with these top three cards here, one of which is the combat knife. The combat knife has so many benefits to it, one of which is that it has a really strong 40 damage stab, and you get it immediately. So you don't need to go ahead and find a really nice machete or something like that, or you don't have to hold a hatchet. Immediately you get 40 damage. Also, it can cleave a little bit, so you can clear multiple zombies. It does not do friendly fire, and if you may not have noticed this, if you have hyper focused on, which we actually have in this deck, you don't get the movement penalty when you're using the combat knife. Also, the combat knife attacks really fast, and it has a stamina requirement of only 10 stam per swing. So this thing is great on so many different levels. And another nice thing about it is you can stab low with the combat knife, which you can't do with the fire axe. So if you can stab low with the combat knife, that gives you the opportunity to aim where you're shooting, or where you're stabbing, I should say, so you don't necessarily have to hit volatile in the head. Okay? So this is a big sustainability weapon. And then we also have Meth Head and Brazen, and these two are going to do so much to make it so that you can do a lot with this fire axe. So typically, I believe a fire axe does about 20 stamina per swing. So on a default character that has 100 stamina, you get 5 swings and you're out of juice, which is not a lot. However, if you have Meth Head and you have Brazen, what that's going to do is bring your melee stamina efficiency up to 50%, meaning that instead of taking 20 stamina per swing, it only takes 10 stamina per swing on your fire axe. So instead of getting 5 swings, you now get 10. And you also are swinging a lot faster because these two cards are going to provide about a 70% attack speed buff. So huge DPS buff because your attack speed just went through the roof, and your sustained DPS is going to last longer because you don't run out of stam so fast, because stamina is kind of like reloading for melee, right? And then on the topic of you're reloading for melee, let's talk about cross trainers. So cross trainers is a very hot topic because there's something wrong with it. I'll briefly go over it, but I've covered this in a different video. So cross trainers provide stamina, stamina regen, move speed, and health, all of which are very useful to your melee character, correct? So the thing with cross trainers though, is that yes, it provides 20% stamina. Yes, it provides 3% move speed. Yes, it provides 5 health, but instead of 20% stamina regen, it provides about 40. It's currently bugged. They're going to fix it. They know it about it. They said that they know about it, but for now, you're actually getting a 40% buff to your stamina regen. So it's like a 40% reload to your melee as a way to think of it, right? 40% buff to your melee. So this is a huge card. 1, because of the stamina regen to make it so you can recover your stam. 2, That extra 20% stam, assuming Holly's not on the team, is going to boost you up to 120 stamina. So that's 12 swings with your fire axe at 10 stam apiece. Oh, by the way, you know how I said the combat knife does 10 stam? Well, it's down to 5 now if you have meth head and brazen. So that's going to be, I don't know, like what, 24 swings with that freaking knife? So you can go for quite a while. And if you need to breathe for a second, cross trainers is going to get you up real fast. Okay, so things are great so far. Now, something you might notice with this deck is there's not a lot of durability, sustainability. There is some, but it's not the whole purpose of your deck. The reason why this deck exists is because there's such a prominent power surge right now with exploder decks, with things like Hoffman and Heng that are buckshot bruising, fire in the holing, everything. So melee just kind of sits there and is like, okay, well, I could just sit here and grind out things and get a lot of temp HP like I used to, but you're better at it, so okay, I guess I'll just sit here and wait for the fire to go away. So what this role does, or what this build does, is allows melee to matter a lot more again, because they can be the thing that goes ahead and charges after a tall boy before it gets too close. They could be the thing that chases down a stalker and one-taps it, or a wretch, or pretty much anything with a weak spot. Reekers, they got a little bit more chunk to them, but even then, you can just shoot a Reeker down from the distance, or, you know, you have 3 other people on your team, and since you can take out everything by yourself, other than just a Reeker, because the Reeker's gonna go ahead and make a horde, you provide a lot of value to the team, okay? But on the topic of sustainability, there is a little bit here. So we have Face Your Fears for a little bit of temp health. You might consider Vanguard, but feeling it out and really ironing it out, Face Your Fears worked better for me when I was doing this playstyle. Reason being is you might be like, well, Vanguard's a better team card. Yes, but also no, because your role is to go ahead and charge at stuff and make it so it's not a threat anymore anyway. And I think that's more valuable to your team than making it so they have 1 temp HP that's going to fall off in 1 second anyway. Especially since you're not the main one that's grinding out common anyway. That tends to be the Exploder's job. You can do it, but that tends to be the Exploder's job. Okay? Now we also have Battle Lust to help sustain your HP a little bit. It's very straightforward. Makes it so when you get a melee kill, it heals for 2 health. Something to know about Battle Lust, though, is it is affected by healing efficiency. So if you have EMT bag, it's going to make it go up to 3, or if you have other healing efficiency cards, it's going to make this number go up. It can use decimals. Also, it can work with overheal. So if you have overheal on your team from other people, suddenly Battle Lust is still providing value via temp HP after you're already at max HP, which is a cool part about Battle Lust. Now, from the damage resistance perspective, we have Spiky Bits and we have Motorcycle Helmet, and that's it. And we also have that -5 from Brazen. A big part of how we're going to deal with that is, we're an attack character. We preemptively deal with things. So one way is to either have a flashbang or a grenade, so you can chuck it at whatever you're going after and then take it out before it has a chance to recover. That's how much damage you're going to be doing. Or you could use an attack stun gun. Another thing you can do is use Sharice's armor. Reason why you can use the armor is because it tanks an entire hit. So you can use that as a way to get the animation out of the tall boy, or really whatever creature that hits you really, really hard, and then you can jump up and nail its weak spots before it has a chance to recover. Now, in the case specifically with monstrous tall boys, they're a little scary. I would flash them, but with a lot of other creatures that don't have such speed, you can go ahead and utilize your armor. So this is the part where we're really leaning into Sharice's kit. We just got done talking about Spiky Bits and how it's going to provide damage resistance, but also it's going to provide melee damage. And now let's start talking about all the different ways we're going to have damage in this deck. We have Spiky Bits, which is going to provide 20%. We have 20% from Ignore the Pain. Also something to know about Ignore the Pain. You know how I said the Fire Axe is going to require 10 stamina per swing? Well, with Ignore the Pain, if you're hitting a mutation, it's only 7. So you are extremely stamina efficient. On top of the fact, you're also healing a little bit, which is cool. We also have Batter Up for an extra 40% of melee damage. We have Hyper Focus, which is really nice to have a big, chunky degree of weak spot damage. We're going to also have Killer Instinct with that as well. This is one of those times where multiplicative actually matters, okay? So if I were to take Hyper Focused and switch it out for, let's say, Mean Drunk. Mean Drunk. So Mean Drunk is 60% melee damage. However, Hyper Focused is 50% weak spot damage. Now, how many times are you actually going to be hitting something not in the weak spot? Not very often. It's either going to be a Reeker, which you don't really want to get too close to anyway, or maybe an Ogre if you're tickling his fingers. So we don't really have to worry about the not hitting a weak spot side of things. But back to the multiplicative thing. Let's go ahead and real quickly run through the calculator here so you can understand why we would pick Hyper Focus from a damage perspective over Mean Drunk. On top of the fact you're still able to sprint, which is really, really nice. So let's pretend that we had Mean Drunk in the deck. That would be Spiky Bits, which is 20. We would have Ignore the Pain, which is 20. We would have Batter Up, which is 40. So what we're sitting at 80 right now. And then we would get another 60 from Mean Drunk. So that's about an extra 140% damage. And then, again, Hyper Focus wouldn't be in the deck. It'd be Mean Drunk, right? So the only other card we have in here right now is Killer Instinct when it comes to multiplicative damage. So let me show you real quick what that looks like. We go over to the calculator here. This is one of the few times that it really, really does show itself. So let's go and do the 2.4 to show off the melee, right? Because we had your damage is 1 and then your extra 140% damage, so we're at 2.4. And then we would multiply it with the 30% that's Killer Instinct. So that means our damage multiplier is sitting at about 3.12 if we're hitting something in the weak spot. Never mind the creature's weak spot multiplier, and we also have Glass Cannon, I know that. But now let's go ahead and flip it around a little bit. Let's go ahead and look back here, and we're going to remove Mean Drunk, and we're going to put Hyper Focus back in, and we're going to show you how this matters. So Mean Drunk is 60%, right? And Hyper Focused is 50%. 60 is more than 50, so that should mean it does more damage, right? That would make sense, because bigger number means bigger damage, which means bigger boom. But that's not how it works. This is one of those times where multiplicative actually matters, and I like to show these off when we actually get a chance. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip this around. We're going to get rid of that 60% that we had on the 2.4, right? So that's going to bring our melee damage down to 1.8, right? Because we'll have Spiky Bits, we'll have Batter Up, so that's 60, and then we'll have Ignore the Pain, so we're back at 80. But now that we have the extra weak spot stuff going on, we have Hyper Focused and Killer Instinct, so that's also 80. So what we do now is we do 1.8 for the melee, but we also do 1.8 again because of the weak spot side of things. And what you'll see is you actually get a bigger number, a bigger multiplier than that 3.12. We have a 3.24. So you're actually getting more damage, even though you have less damage coming in from a flat percentage side of things. And that's because the way this game works, there's a bunch of damage bins or categories, and these categories go ahead and multiply with each other, and they don't just add on to each other. So since they multiply with each other, that is how you get some of those situations like this one, where you actually get more damage even with a smaller number. Okay? And then on top of that, we also have Glass Cannon, and I'm not even going to get into Glass Cannon because it has been weird the entire time this game has been out, and it's still a little weird when it comes to weak spot versus regular damage. Just know that we have Glass Cannon in here, and it's going to help with your damage, okay? And now, as for Glass Cannon, you might be thinking, well, what about Reckless Strategy over Glass Cannon? Because that's 30% health. That's a lot, and that might be a bigger deal than that. What is it? Damage resistance that we get out of Reckless Strategy? Glass Cannon's complicated. I don't want to get into how complicated it is, but it works differently with weak spot versus regular damage and yada bada. So we're going with Glass Cannon here because you can make up a lot of your HP. You can't make up a lot of your damage resistance. Okay? That's just how we're gonna end that conversation. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know, you don't need to know. Okay, let's keep going here. The final cards we have in here that we haven't really talked about are going to be Down in Front and then Marathon Runner. So Down in Front is really, really nice because you're not going to absolutely murder your teammates if you happen to swing next to them. Down in Front is essential because you are running at things, sprinting at things, and then what you'll do is you'll crouch if you're in midair, you'll jump. And then while you're crouch jumping, you'll be able to swing at stuff. But if you have a teammate that you're running over to try and save, you're going to obliterate them. So Down in Front makes it so you're not just killing everyone. Also, if you have an exploder on your team or a grenadier or whatever you want to call them, this allows you to sit inside of their Molotovs without having to worry about anything. So you can sit there and clear in front of things, hold the line while they're sitting there doing their big damage with Pyro. Okay? And then the last card here is a Marathon Runner. Now, the reason why I like Marathon Runner is because it helps you be nimble and it helps you dodge. Marathon Runner is going to outperform something like Fleet of Foot in every scenario other than moving forward. And I find a lot more value in being able to move side to side and backwards quickly versus forward faster because I can already sprint anyway. So this allows you to deal with tall boys on doors pretty easily. You can do one of these and then the tall boy might do a swing at you, and that opens up a window for you to go ahead and capitalize on that tall boy's weak spot. And you're only going to need about 3 or 4 hits with your axe, and you swing really quickly anyway. So I value Marathon Runner from the perspective of being able to strafe and backpedal when I need to. Also, again, it works really nice with Combat Knife with that same speed buff. Now let me go in a little bit deeper onto Glass Cannon here. You might be a little scared off with the negative 30 HP. The reason why I'm not too concerned with that minus 30% is due to how No Hope works. You continuously have opportunities to get a lot of health. Another thing with, like, same concept with a Stam. We only really have one Stam card in here because you find a lot of Intel cards, and those Intel cards can provide HP. Also, they can provide stamina and stamina regen. All right, so you're going to be getting a lot of those things to help you scale up and recover a bit of this, what you'd be losing with Glass Cannon. Also, now that there is the ability to buy team HP every single level, you can also make up for what you lose with Glass Cannon. But again, you can't make up that damage resistance. If you lose damage resistance, it's gone forever. you can make up HP a lot of different ways. Another thing to consider is that a lot of times you're going to be sitting down at 40 HP anyway because you'll be on the trauma floor, in which case you're really going to wish you had all the damage resistance you had, because it doesn't matter if you could have 5 billion HP. If you're going to be sitting at 40 HP anyway due to your trauma floor, it doesn't matter. So glass cannon is one of those things where you don't even necessarily feel its negative effects unless you were going to be sitting at max HP anyway, which with the way this build works, you're not really that tanky character anyway. Your job is to go ahead and just charge at stuff, pounce on it, and take it out. And also, again, on that topic of the intel cards, look at all these cards you could find. There are so many cards that you could find and add to your deck as you're going through things, some of which are really valuable. If there's cards in here that you don't really want or you don't value, some cards that I would consider trying to stuff in here would be something like Vanguard. That way you can get a little bit more temp HP. You might want to throw Numb in here if you're also going to be throwing Vanguard in here. The thing is, if you start throwing too much survivability and you start losing damage, something has to give, right? So give and take a little bit of what you want, but the reason I have this build the way it is for a lot of really big damage. Another card that could be really good is Money Grubbers, just to make it so you could support the economy a lot. Like, some people might not value Marathon Runner a lot, or they might not value Down in Front, or they might want to sacrifice a little bit of damage just so they can go ahead and get a little bit more survivability in or a little bit more economy. You do as you wish. This worked really well for me, and we just clobbered, what was it, Act 2 last night? Super easy, and it was a lot of fun. On top of the fact, I didn't even think about how you could do a lot of work with these skull totems. And actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and talk about a really, really nice part about this build. I'll show it to you. So something this build's really good for is specifically for scenarios, or I guess you need to team kill everyone. But also right here, we have the breaker.
No one's gonna take
This build's really, really good at dealing with breakers because you just walk up and destroy them. Yeah, come here, buddy. You can wrap around the corner. So all you need to do is get into a good position with the breaker, go up and flash it. Hopefully it doesn't have a lot of armor on it. It might have a lot of armor, but Sharice can just melt through them because of her overhead cleave. So ta-da. Crap. I just walk up here and just start going after him, right? And he'll actually make armor for me while I'm sitting here. Yeah. Give me this. And then she can just take care of all this. Now, if you have somebody on your team who can actually help with the armor, that's nice too. But as you can see, she does so much damage, she just clobbers the dang thing. And she'll do this on all difficulties. And in fact, she only gets better the more cards you get, the more things you find, the better your... Oh God, where'd you come from? The better your weapon becomes. So, why are these things coming out of Fort Hope? So go ahead and know that you have that in your... My God. In your set of things you can do. What is going on here? So I hope this helped you find a way to really understand what Sharice is specifically good at. This build complements everything about her. The bolstered health gives her more shield to work with Face Your Fears. The trauma resistance is just nice because she's going to be getting into a lot of trouble anyway. The armor helps her take big hits. The fire axe helps her do a lot of damage. This build hits all the checkboxes and it's immediately strong, it's immediately powerful, and it works throughout the entire act. So I'm in love with this build. It's a lot of fun to play. I hope you guys enjoy it too. Go ahead, feel free, go to the deck, change it up, see whatever works better for your playstyle. I have it titled Here's Sherry because it's a Shining reference. But have fun with it. Again, and don't be afraid to change it up. You might value more sustainability, you might value something else, more mobility, whatever it is. So thank you guys. I hope this helped you learn a thing or two about the game, helped you understand it a little bit more. If you want to talk more about this build or about the game itself, I stream just about every single night, twitch.tv/SwingPoynt, link in the description down below. Also, if you found this video helpful or any of the other videos on the channel, please consider subscribing. We're also going to be covering The Evil Dead here soon, within a week's time, and that's going to be a really fun game. And if you want to support the channel just a little bit more, I think I have super thanks unlocked now, so you could try clicking one of those if you want to leave a tip for the channel, I guess. Or you can become a YouTube member by clicking the join button down below. So, thank you guys. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you in the next video that we do around here.